Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Join us today again on the Cotswold Way, part number 18. The three left before we hit the city of Bath. We're back here at Dyrham, back just outside the National Trust property, and I've just come into the centre of the village here at Dyrham. Never actually been this bit before, just having a quick look around. We're just walking down towards the village hall before we make our way back up and rejoin the Cotswold Way footpath. Hope you can join me on the tour here today. Just noticed on the ground here lots of brown leaves, which must indicate, golden brown leaves indicate we're now coming into autumn, and I will be doing a couple of videos highlighting autumnal colours around and about the West Country. But here we're at this lovely triangle, golden triangle here at Dyrham, and making our way to rejoin the Cotswold Way. Now I suppose I have a bit different psychology to the through walkers who do the Cotswold Way 5, 6, 7 days and are hiking and camping en route. Obviously my philosophy is taking it a little bit slower, but also just to savour it. But obviously that's a different approach doing it that way, and I can understand why people do that. Getting out in the open air, fresh air, and sleeping out in the open air as well. It has its benefits, of course. It has its drawbacks when the weather changes as well. But been very, very fortunate doing the Cotswold Way in terms of the weather. The only times I've stopped is when we had the extreme heat. When was it? Back around July time, when we were getting up to 30 degrees. And also there was a week or two where it was a bit wet. So I've been trying to make the most of the weather here in the autumn, hoping to finish this sequence in the next couple of weeks now. There's a few wet days. I don't normally do the walks on the Sunday today. It's a forecast heavy rain for the next 2 or 3 days. So I thought I'd take an opportunity of coming out today and making most of the weather, getting another walk in, which will just leave 2 to do to get us down to Bath. It's a delightful seat there as you enter or leave Dyrham Village, still don't know which, and it's been put in by the Cotswold Way Association. I'll put a link in below if you want to find out more about the association. They're all volunteers. They put in the finger posts and the seats, and generally keep the Cotswold Way tidy and clear and open and free from any obstructions. Do a fabulous job. So the only problem I've come across was where there's been a couple of finger post signs broken, which I've reported, and also that diversionary route, which I'm still looking into as to why that's a diversion. But we're back on the way again here. Our first port of call today isn't, I can't say it's a particularly stunningly beautiful place, but it has an interesting name, and it always used to intrigue me as a child whenever I went through it, and it's called Pennsylvania. But I've yet to discover how it got its name. I can't find it in the Oxford Book of Names. I can't find any source information on the internet, and Richard Sale certainly doesn't shed any light on it either. So if you live locally, or you indeed know the hamlet of Pennsylvania and how it got its name, I'd be very interested to hear from you if you could just drop a comment below. Just thinking in bed last night, having a difficult day, my mental health yesterday, really quite struggling with focusing. My anxiety went through the roof, and in the afternoon I just crashed. I just couldn't focus on anything at all, and this just seems to happen. It goes in phases like this, and I was hoping to get out to do another short bite vlog and video, and I just didn't have the mental well-being to do it. And it just got me thinking last night. I was feeling a little bit better later on, and I'm feeling okay-ish today. Beautiful views. I'll do a spin round here. I'll just stop. What is it that makes walking and being in the fresh air and countryside beneficial to mental health? I know it is. We all know that now, and we all know, and lots of people derive benefit from it. But what is it that particularly that helps us to do that, to help us to recover our mental health. I think the answer to that question will vary from person to person, but I think there'll always be some common strands within it. I think our lives have got busier, noisier, more crowded, faster. And there is something about the rhythmic pace of walking. Obviously you set your own pace, but once you kind of fit into that speed groove, whatever speed that be, whether it's 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour or more, once you fit into that regular rhythm of the legs moving, there is a terrific effect, and that it's almost meditative, if you like. I know that you can get the same effect to some extent with cycling too, and I used to be an avid cyclist myself, but I think there is something about the rhythm of walking that helps us, which I have used gyms in the past to keep my fitness levels up, and obviously keeping anyone's fitness levels up has a beneficial effect on mental health. But what you don't get from a gym, which you do get here in the fresh air, is of course the fresh air. And what gyms don't have is fresh air. They tend to be enclosed spaces. They can be quite noisy. I certainly tend to put my earphones, listen to something, not so much for motivation purposes in the gym, but more to do with the fact it blocks out the external noise, because I just find it intolerable. And being around other people, I find, to do with my autism, I find that a very stressful experience anyway, because I always get the sense, and I experience this with driving as well, that the other person behind me is wanting to go faster than I am. Even that can happen on walking sometimes. If I sense that somebody's behind me, I know they want to get away faster. They have to do things faster, get away. And I think if they're trying to do that, it will not improve their mental health. I think if you set yourself a challenge to speed walk this, you'll lose so much benefit of what the Cotswold Way can provide. So yeah, that's part of it, is that it's a rhythm of walking. The other thing, of course, is observing nature, and I was very lucky at the end of the last video when I was at Dyrham, just walking back to Dyrham, to observe I was walking back to when I parked my car, wasn't I, at Horton, should I say, from Dyrham. I was managed to witness some kestrels, and yeah, 2 kestrels, and I think I've captured that on the video from the last time. So we have the rhythm of the walking, we have the benefit of the exercise, and that releases endorphins, which are chemicals which stimulate the brain, which are helpful. You also have the lower speed, dropping the speed down compared to our normal lifestyles. That helps enormously. Observing nature, and for me, I think the final thing, and I'm sure there's many more, and if you regularly walk in the countryside or cycle in the countryside and benefit from it, I'd love to know how that helps your mental and physical well-being. Just drop a comment below. It'd be lovely to hear from you. The other thing for me is a sense of space. I think so much of our lives these days, I mean, particularly if you live in an urban area, or particularly a very built up inner city, so much of our lives are kind of hemmed in. We're hemmed in our cars, hemmed in buses, trains, surrounded by people. We have pavements in urban areas that are choked with people and cars and buildings and noise and lorries. And when you come out in the countryside, of course, you don't have that. You've got space. You can look across fields. You can look across, obviously on the Cotswold Way, we've had stunning views from the Scarp looking across the Vale and the rest of the Cotswolds, and it's that just feeling of space and freedom which you just don't get in an urban built environment. Just wanted to give a shout out to my new subscribers. Picked up a few new, well for me, new subscribers in the past few days, so thank you if you're a new subscriber to my channel. Really do appreciate that, and I hope you're enjoying the content on my channel. I'd love to hear from you if you want to let me know what you like or even dislike. Don't be afraid to mention things, as long as you do it in a polite way. I don't mind if you say something, oh perhaps we liked that bit but we didn't like that bit so much. It helps me to produce content in the future. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. Yeah, so I just wanted to give a shout out to my regular subscribers. Firstly to Debs. Hi Debs. I know she's just done a new video over at Corfe Castle in Dorset. I've not actually watched it yet. I've still come up yesterday. Haven't had a chance to watch it. Hi Debs. Hope you enjoyed your break in Dorset. I will check that out later. And Roy Edwards. He's just done a video which again I haven't seen yet, just come up this morning as I was having my breakfast. Really interesting. They've got a John Bonham Music Festival at Redditch in Worcestershire, just up the way from here, not very far at all. And of course, well, you may not know, so particularly if you're a younger subscriber, that John Bonham was the drummer in the group, the 1960s, 1970s supergroup Led Zeppelin. He was a fantastic drummer, and he was from Redditch. And they've got a music festival there this weekend celebrating his life and fantastic drumming skills. I believe that his son, I've forgotten the son's name, also plays in a Led Zeppelin tribute band as well, and he's playing with some other top bands as well, so keeping kind of tradition alive there. So I'd also like to thank Brian Smith, who lives local to me. Hi Brian. I know Brian is particularly interested in civil war history, and he's mentioned to me about something that's coming up. Will probably be in the next video, number 19. We might touch on it today. Depends how far I get on today's walk, and that's above or at the top before we descend into Bath. I'll tell you more about that later, so we may cover a bit of that today, we may cover it on the next one. But thank you for your information, Brian. I will certainly incorporate that in conjunction with the other bits and pieces I've got, and we will do some pieces to camera to explain about the history, important history that happened on the hills above Bath. And also to say hi to Jay, who lives in Plymouth in Massachusetts, not Plymouth in Devon, and he's got a channel called What's That Guy Doing, who does walking trails and fishing. And I'll drop the links in for those channels there that I've mentioned. There are some subscribers as well, and also to all the other regular viewers, friends, relatives, and other people that subscribe to my channel. You're very welcome. So I hope you're enjoying the walk here on indeed the series. If you have missed some of the series, just to recap, I have put them as a separate section on my channel. I think it's probably about the third one down, so if you go onto my YouTube channel on the web, it should appear on the TV as well. You'll see a separate section for Cotswold Way. Now, just to let you know, I think that YouTube only shows the first 12 videos. So if you're looking at it on the screen, it'll appear that there's only 12 videos in the series. Well, of course there isn't. I've just uploaded 16. 17 is in post-production, as it were, and I'm filming 18 today. And if you hit where it says the white writing saying the Cotswold Way, you'll be then taken to a new page that YouTube has done, and it will show you all my videos there in sequence, starting from the very first one, which took us from Far Weststrip Farm up to Edge above Haresfield Beacon. And you can indeed just watch the whole lot back to back if you just press play. Or play all of them in sequence, non-stop. Yeah, that's probably a lot to do in one go. I don't suggest that you do that, but you can return to them as you so wish, or even if you're doing the whole Cotswold Way or just sections of it, you can just dip in and out of the series to pick up ones which interest you, maybe walks that you're considering doing, just to show you what that particular section is like and what are the interesting bits to have a look at in more detail. Now, in Richard Sale's book, it says that after leaving Dyrham, you cross the edge of the scarp with views across, which we've just seen, and then it says you enter Dyrham Wood, or what remains of its poor state. Well, I'm just looking at the wood now. From this angle, it doesn't seem too bad. So we're just about to enter Dyrham Wood. So I think it was written in 1980, so it's 41 years ago. So I will go back and have an explore and see what the condition of this wood is like now. I've just come back the other side of the wood. It seems like it's in good condition as far as I can tell. I can't see evidence of any ash dieback. The stream is running through it fairly clearly. Not completely clearly, but fairly clearly. And yeah, it seems okay. It's obviously only a small wood. There. Stands around there. Sorry if there's any flare on that there, so sun's at the wrong angle. And yeah, it seems to be okay. So hopefully, in the 40 odd plus years since that book was written, the wood has improved. Now, I read something yesterday in the Western Daily Press, I think it was on the old red button on the TV on BBC, that in Devon and Gloucestershire and Cornwall, so kind of in the area that I cover here on this channel, they are going to plant some new woodlands. And in fact, what they're planning to do is plant woodlands around streams and rivers. And that will have two effects, positive effects. Well, three really. One, in terms of climate change, reducing CO2. That's the main one, of course. It will also reduce the amount of flooding, because if you have trees near streams, then what will happen is those trees will tend to absorb the water to reduce the extent of the flooding. And the final thing, of course, is if you have runoff from agriculture entering those streams and rivers, the trees and their root system will act as a natural filtration system. It's all good positive stuff. So hopefully that continues. Just glimpse the city of Bristol through the dip in the field there. That's the centre of Bristol. And we can't actually see our destination city, Bath, yet because it'll be hidden down in a steep dip. It won't be till we get to the very top of Lansdowne that we'll be able to see Bath and all of its limestone building beauty unfold before us. So the delights of that's waited ahead. Yes, I did read about that message box. It was wonderful. It was very interesting reading the comments from the other walkers that have been doing the way, and it's very inspirational as well. I've included them, the one I put, and a couple of the others that people have written in the book. There's no surnames or complete addresses or anything like that, so it's pretty anonymous. I thought it was a really interesting idea. It's not mentioned in Richard Sale's book, but it is mentioned in my Cicerone guide. We're now approaching a road called Gorse Lane, where we have to go slightly left and then retake the route across the field till we get to Pennsylvania. I always wanted to say Transylvania. That's ridiculous, obviously. As I say, I don't know why it's called Pennsylvania. Is that in America, Pennsylvania? I need to look that up. I need to find some more about this place name. It just so intrigues me. But yeah, we need to cross this road. Sadly then, well sadly, but annoyingly, we have to cross the A46. Again, I've lost count how many times. I'll have to do look at the map, count it all up and drop that in if I can. And yeah, so we've got to cross over this road, and then so I'm not looking forward to crossing the busy A46 again, but such is the nature of the Cotswold Way at this point. We want to continue our destination to Bath. So if you are doing the Cotswold Way, be very, very careful and just take your time crossing it until you can find a safe gap. It won't mean anything to somebody watching this video if somebody indeed does in a few years' time. As I'm filming this is September 2021. We currently have a crisis with fuel in this country, in the United Kingdom, well, particularly in England. I think it's less so in Scotland and Wales, but for reasons I'm not quite sure about. But running very, very short of fuel, and you think, well, that's 21st century, what's going on? Well, it's to do with a shortage of lorry drivers to move the tankers away from the refineries to take them back to the depots, the petrol stations. I won't get into the politics of why there's a shortage of lorry drivers, except to say that there is. And some stations have had to close, like the likes of BP, Shell, etc. A few of them, and that was reported in the media, and of course that sent panic to all motorists. And for the past 2 days solid, there's been huge queues at all petrol stations. In fact, I was very lucky this morning because I walked down the town where I lived yesterday. Noted that the garage had closed. I think it's normally open to 8 o'clock in the evening, and it was closed at just after 7, saying no fuel. And when I was, I knew I had enough fuel in my tank to do the Cotswold, to make the journey here to film this and get back home today. And I was passing the garage this morning en route on the way back up to the A46 to get back to Dyrham, and the garage was open, and so I thought, and there wasn't, miraculously, there wasn't a queue. There was just literally one car in front of me. They'd just had a delivery, just opened. They'd opened a bit later because they'd just got the delivery. They only had, my car, it takes diesel. They didn't have any diesel, and they had very little petrol, but they did have Supreme diesel, which obviously costs more, but it is good for your engine. Yeah, the reason I mention all that is here at Pennsylvania there is a Shell garage, and I see that the traffic is starting to crawl back along the main A46. Now, I crossed over the A46. That was a bit tricky, but thankfully, because it was queued up back, because they were trying to get into the Shell garage because of aforementioned problems, it was tailing back on the road, which means in the Stroud direction coming out of Bath, it was completely blocked up, so I managed to get through that and just wait for traffic to be clear on the other side. But hopefully it's all good when you cross that. If you're doing the Cotswold Way, just take your time with it. It's not easy, I'm afraid. Well, here we are at Cold Ashton. We'll go and have a look at the church in a minute, and then we'll have a look at the little village here and views across the Scarp. Just before I do that, I'll tell you a little bit about the name Cold Ashton. The village here used to be called just Ashton, and the name Cold was added as a prefix because of the escarpment, and how the village is so exposed to the elements with the winds and the cold winds coming off that edge there, which we'll go and have a look at shortly. Interestingly, there is a separate walk from Cold Ashton to Bath. We're now approximately 10 miles from Bath Abbey, so after today, I'm going to walk on a little bit more today, and then there is another walk you can go on from here, which takes, I think it's about 25 or 30 miles. I'll put it in. I think it's called the Limestone Way or the Limestone Link, and it takes you on a far more circuitous route into the Roman city of Bath. Anyway, we're not going to be doing that route. As I say, we're just going to walk on another mile or two from the village today, and that'll be the end of today's vlog. But before we do that, the name Ashton, the Ashton part of the name, comes from, well, either two potential derivations. It's called Isk Tun or Iska Tun. So it either means the farm amongst the trees, or it means the village amongst the ash trees. So you can take your pick as to where the derivation on it comes from. Now we're going to have a look at the church. One of the things I've been told to look out for the church from 3 of my guidebooks on the Cotswold Way is a moniker from the former rector of the village church here. His surname was Key, and the design of this moniker is based on the key and his initials, so we'll see if we can find that. So why not join me here at Cold Ashton. We're in Cold Ashton. We've just come back from the church, had a look around that, dropped a few photos in, and we're going to make our way through the village, and the Cotswold Way actually continues along this quiet road. Well, hopefully it's quiet. We're just sat outside the manor house, a bit unlike the situation at Little Sobrig when we had all that noise there and I couldn't film. So I've just dropped a couple of photos I managed to take of the manor house, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the history of the house, because it's really interesting. The manor is Elizabethan and has been called the most perfect house of its time in England. The manor and the original house were owned by Bath Abbey, which lost at the dissolution when it passed to the well-established Dennis family. They sold it to William Pepwell, who was a wealthy Bristol merchant. He was also the mayor of Bristol, and it's likely that the present house was commenced by him in the late 16th century, although work was also carried out by one John Gunning, who brought it from the Pepwells in the early 17th century. Despite the manor's beauty, it hasn't always seen life at its best. Following the Battle of Lansdowne, which we'll talk about more on the Cotswold Way number 19, Sir Bevil Grenville actually returned here into the manor house, where he died of his wounds. The way now follows the route taken by the Dyrham leader by going down across the A46 and crossing into Greenway Lane. just come to the lane. We've come out of Cold Ashton, we've crossed over the A46. We walked down quite steeply and we're just above a farm called Hill Farm. On the opposite side of the valley is a farm called Lilliput Farm. Why are you telling me all this? Well, this is where I'm going to wrap the video up today. Seems a strange location, but it's not. In a beautiful field, got beautiful views, and I'll pan around in a minute so I can show you. I'm going to do name that tree in a minute as well. This one, the one that's above my head, so we're going to play that as well. So I hope you've enjoyed it today. We'll do that, name that tree in a sec. But the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to park the car near Lilliput Farm next time. I'll walk back to Hill Farm. It's only about half a mile's walk, rejoin the Cotswold Way there, and then make our way to Weston via battlefields and tell you all about the monument there and what happened there in the English Civil War. And then we'll have stunning views right across the Scarp down towards Bath. That's all be in Cotswold Way 19, so you won't want to miss that. Anyway, let's play that time now for Name That Tree. Now, the reason I wanted to highlight this tree today, just going to insert some visuals now, what the tree looks like. I'll do a pan up and down the tree from another side of it. And this is the leaves. I'll take a photograph as well so you can see that. But that's what the leaves look like. It's a very common tree. And the reason I wanted to cover it is this is a fantastic specimen, and we've mentioned this a few times on West Country Wanderings, these trees have become diseased. The common ash tree, Fraxinus excelsior, is the wonderful Latin name for this tree, and the reason I wanted to cover it is because, well, they're kind of dying off. We have the dreadful ash dieback. I'll put in the Latin name for the fungal infection that causes these wonderful trees to die off. Another reason you can identify, one of the ways you can identify this splendid tree is in the springtime, before the tree has come into leaf. The buds on the tree, on the shoots, are jet black in colour. Really gives the game away. So I'll do a photo of the leaves and just do a pan up and down for that. Anyway, this is the common ash, and long may they survive. What a wonderful example here along the Cotswold Way. So that wraps it up for Cotswold Way number 18, just 2 more to go. As I say, the next time we'll be walking from here to Weston. No, not Weston-super-Mare. It's a village, well, it's now within Bath. It didn't used to be, but it has its own community, shops, church, etc. We're going to stop, we're going to finish there and say the final 120 will be from there into Bath. But that's it for the time being. I hope you enjoyed the walk today. If you've got any comments about walking in general, where you like to walk, what benefits you get from walking for your mental health, physical health, etc., that sort of thing, I'd love to know about that. Please drop a comment below. Also, if you've done the Cotswold Way, I think if you're doing the Cotswold Way, I'd love to hear from you on that as well. Or indeed, if you've done any national trails, not necessarily in the UK, but also abroad. I've got subscribers in Europe, in Romania, in France. I also got people that watch me in America and Australia as well. So if you've got national trails and you're doing those in your country, love to hear from you as well. Till next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, all the best. Cheers now, bye bye.